to welcome Debbie. She is a cancer survivor, and she's going to enlighten us with all the ins and outs, or try to as much as possible today. And we're so excited.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
And I
thank you
hope
for
that
having me.
your story inspires others and gives them some light at the end of the tunnel. We've been talking about losing hair because that's really what everyone associates cancer with.
Yeah.
You lose your hair, but you were just talking about how that you don't need to do that. It's not drastic right away.
To shave your head?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Wait until the moment comes. You're gonna have plenty of time to be bold. Yeah.
So let's talk about what we had said outside about detection. Like, can you detect, or have you seen cases where people can detect it, like a normal treatment, or was it like a pain, or
Right. So basically, it happens differently to each person. It's for me. My mom had cancer when she was 36, and I was 8 years old by that time. And so when I became a teenager, like I was so traumatized with cancer since I was a kid that I literally did self-examinations my whole life. And that's how I found my own cancer.
Oh, you found your own
Yes,
cancer.
I found my own cancer. I also had dense breast, which is a medical condition that some people have it, and it's that your breasts are like full of little lumps, and it's just a condition. Some people have it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get cancer because you have dense breasts, but you are at a higher risk of contracting breast cancer.
oh,
And so because of that, I was always very self-conscious of always doing my self-examinations. I don't know if you know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you lift
You lift your hand, your arm, and you palpate around with your. And then
what if there's no lumps but there's pain?
you always
It can be
it,
like, you don't
honestly like when cancer doesn't necessarily bring pain per se. It just brings a lot of abnormalities to the breast. So
Okay.
enlargement of the nipple or lumps, or it can be either it can also be discharge.
Okay.
It can present itself in different forms, but it's not common to
have
manifest
pain.
with pain. No. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I did find my own lump. My friends make fun of me because I always explain everything through food. Like I'm like, it didn't feel like a lollipop. It felt more like a croqueta aplastada. It felt literally like a croquette, like a smush croquette. Yeah, being from Miami. Literally.
So
like,
they know, so they can compare. So if you feel like croqueta, just make sure that it could be. You just gotta go get checked.
Yes,
Go get
I
a
was.
check,
We were actually. I remember vividly the moment of, because I have done self-examinations my whole life. I knew what I was supposed to feel, what I was supposed to find. I never had breasts that felt smooth. I always felt like little black beans around.
Okay.
You see?
I like frijoles.
Yeah, like frijoles. I always had like a different texture on my breast, but I always knew what to find and
Where?
where. And I was in New Orleans on a vacation, taking a shower, and I remember that in the shower I said, "Oh, might as well. I haven't done it in like 2 weeks or a month. Let me examine my breast." And when I went like this, I felt like a long lump, that it was completely abnormal. I had never ever felt it before or anything like it. And so I remember I freaked out. I walked out of the room ready to tell my husband, like, "Oh my God." And that was the day that Anthony Bourdain died. You know the chef, Anthony Bourdain?
No, I don't.
And so at that moment, I was like, I walk out of the room and he had like this expression. I guess he was watching the news and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll tell you later." And then I was like, you know what? Let me enjoy the vacation. And then when I get to Miami, and I kind of had a hunch. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, because it felt so different that I was like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
it's not like that for everybody, but
Right.
Yeah.
you
Well,
just
no, that's not
the
my-
self-awareness.
People don't necessarily check themselves. To
Correct.
see that,
I mean, I can tell you, I probably don't. I check myself when I go to the gynecologist on
Right.
my annual,
Yeah.
and I get checked.
Yeah.
But how it is important.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have to Google how to really do it correctly, because
No, you
Like,
just,
get a hand-
you
you
just
wanna
put
show
your
me?
arm up.
Yes,
and
I
then
can.
You,
Yeah.
You can show me. You can show me after. You can show me
I'll show you after. Yes. But definitely, that's one of the key factors on detecting it early. It's the key factor of the overall outcome of the cancer fight. So it's very important. And the more that, well, now we're in times where people are becoming more self-conscious of health and healthy lifestyles, and I feel that people are talking more and more about how to, not miss your appointments. If for women to start at age 40 with their mammograms and do not skip a year because you don't have insurance, find a way to do it, or because you have plans and I know this lady that I met this lady throughout my journey that she missed two mammograms because she was super busy. She was always going on vacations and cruises and stuff. And when she went to check herself, it was already stage 3. She survived though, but
nice that she's
but
survived.
but yeah. So do not postpone your
Stage-
appointments.
stage-
Once
yeah,
you
because
get to that
it can travel
age.
so
yes,
fast. It can just
it can travel
manifest
fast and it
really
can grow. It
fast.
depends on the pathology, and that's another whole chapter of being diagnosed with cancer, which is what's your pathology,
Okay,
Yeah.
and then there's 3 types. We
Yes.
spoke about the 3 types. It's
Yes.
triple negative, the hormone positive, and the HER2 positive.
Correct.
And tell us a little bit about that.
So basically, obviously, I know nothing of these before getting diagnosed. You think that breast cancer is just breast cancer, but the treatment and the way that the type of medication that you're going to get and the treatment and the fact that if you're going to need radiation or if you can be okay with just having a lumpectomy rather than just removing your entire breast. It all comes with your diagnosis and it all comes with your pathology. And so for, in my case, it was triple negative, which is the cancer that you don't want to get because it sucks. But there's also HER2 positive and hormone positive. And the reason why these two other pathologies are better to get, sounds funny, but yeah, it's because there's target medication for these other pathologies. There has been more research done, and therefore there's very specific medication that doctors, it's like a formula, right? You have a hormone positive, we're going to give you this and this, and then you're going to take this medication for 5 years, which is a hormone suppressor, and then you'll be fine, if it's cut on time. But with triple negative, there's still not much known. Like there's not a lot of information on triple negative to this day because they don't know where it comes from. It doesn't come from hormones, and it doesn't come from other factors that the other two come from. So due to that, it's harder to treat because they have to literally target triple negative with a bunch of medication and the worst drugs. Literally, yeah, the strongest.
The
Yeah.
strongest drugs.
Yeah.
And what are some side effects of, for example, in your case, the strong drugs?
Yeah. Things that I didn't even expect. Like when you see movies, people like losing the hair and vomiting, and you know how like when you think of chemo, the first thing you think is somebody bald vomiting, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all. And there's so much more that comes with the chemotherapy. Obviously your levels can drop very fast because these drugs kill their
When you say levels, you mean immunity?
your immunity,
So you can get
and
sick really fast.
you can get sick really fast, and not even that, like also the way that your body will respond to the treatment. If your immune system is weak and is low, then the way that you're going to react with the medication can be worse. But yeah, anything from fatigue to feeling very sick in many ways, then yeah, like vomiting and a lot of sickness, but also foggy brain, confusion, I don't know, like weakness, like yeah, you will feel like very fatigued. And then for a lot of patients, decide to continue to work throughout their journey because they have to, or because it feels like their job is their way out to. And it's hard. Like I remember in my case, I didn't work directly with clients. I work with special need adults, and I decided not to work with. Oh no, I'm lying. I did work all the way until like my 5th chemo session, And then I started realizing, oh my God, it's unsafe. It's unsafe for me to transport them because I can pass out at any time, or it's unsafe for me to be with them one-on-one because your body reacts differently like by the minute. So I stopped working midway in my treatment. But for those who have to work, which there's a lot of patients that have to continue to work, I don't know, it gets rough. So
is there anything that you can recommend to
yes, I feel like for me, and now the more I talk to new patients, there's a whole system called the Pink Sister system, and basically it's like a network of survivors or people that are going through cancer that are willing to provide advice and support to new cancer patients. And I'm the Pink Sister of many cancer patients right now.
Yes.
And basically I find myself always giving the same advice, which is as soon as you get diagnosed, just create an action plan and tackle these like a test, or like something that needs to be done.
A
And
to-do list? Like a to-do
like
list.
a to-do list. Yeah, for sure. And for me, one of the most important things throughout my journey was to the way that I was able to keep my spirits up, the way that the way that I didn't let my mind take over and my feelings to take over. I have a friend who sent me a text. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Not doing well. I feel really sick." It was I was feeling really sick by then. And he goes like, "Well, Deb, it's called a cancer fight for a reason."
Mm-hmm.
And he literally said that, and at that moment, it felt like, yeah, whatever. But then throughout, like nobody's in your shoes, so nobody can really feel what you're going through.
Feel because you're the one who's in it.
But every time I stumble with hitting rock bottom, like throughout the treatments, there's different things that happen. And I remember telling myself all the time, it's called a cancer fight for a reason. And that little phrase gave me so much strength and inspiration to always remember that it's called a cancer fight for a reason. It's not only about, oh, I need to beat cancer, but all the little bullets, all the little things that come with the treatment, right? You're not only beating cancer, you're beating fear, anxiety, sadness. You're beating the frustration of having to change your schedule, your routine, your life, losing your hair, you losing your breast. There's so much that, the fight is, yes, you want to overcome cancer, but the fight is every day with everything that comes with the diagnosis, which is a lot. So yeah. So having a plan and preparing, seeking for help. There's a lot of systems of support naturally. Like if you go on the internet, there's a lot of systems of support where you can find counseling. Even the Miami can I say? Sorry. The Miami Cancer Institute, or even in where you were, or even where in the places where you get diagnosed, always ask if they have support groups, if they have a Pink Sister, if they have a way to connect you with somebody. And I feel that it's crucial to find somebody that can help you navigate through your treatment and through the emotions, mainly through the emotions. I feel like I remember I was assigned a Pink Sister that she's awesome. I love her. And I remember that she kept telling me she kept saying like, oh, now you're going to feel these or that. Like she will tell me what to expect. Okay. And I remember thinking like, this is great, because literally even my sister, who's my best friend, the person that went with me to all the appointments, and my husband, who was amazing, my mom, everybody around me was there to support me, yet nobody, like, they didn't go through it. Like, so it's like people can tell you like, oh, you're gonna be fine, you're okay, it's okay, but to hear it from somebody that really went through it, it's definitely it changes your perspective, and it helps you a lot.
You don't think that it was like preparing you for like not negative thoughts, but I mean, yes, it's good.
Yes, I know where you come from. No, not at all. No. I never perceived it like that. In fact, when I got diagnosed the first day, sorry.
Okay. Get your drink, girl. Tea's good.
Yes, it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I first got diagnosed, I found the lump, right? This is the timeline. I found the lump, came back from the trip, went to see my doctor. She said, it's probably nothing. It's probably a water cyst. You just did your mammo because I had just done my mammogram and there was nothing. It was
Oh,
clear.
wow.
That's why self-examinations are like
But that
as
grew in,
important or
that
more
must have
important
grown.
because triple negative is a super fast growing cancer.
God.
Yes.
And I never
That's
knew that
fast.
until after, right? But if I tell you a whole story, we'll be here until tomorrow. So I'll try to
Back to the timeline.
yeah, back to the timeline. So I got diagnosed. I went to get another my mammogram, a new mammogram. They saw the imaging showed that there was something that it wasn't on the previous one, and then they said, okay, we're gonna have a biopsy. We're gonna get it biopsied immediately. We're not gonna talk about the biopsy because it's long,
Yeah.
but they actually called me on the phone on a Monday morning. The biopsy was on a Thursday, and then by Monday, I got a call and they said, "Look, we're calling you from the lab, and no, we're calling you from your doctor's office. She's not available, but we got your results and you have cancer." Like
Bro, on the phone?
on the phone on a
Is that
Monday
even normal?
at 8
I mean, that's like
8 o'clock in the morning. I was still on my sleepers and my PJs, and I remember just running to the car. No, I literally remember I was in the kitchen. I dropped on my knees. I started crying. I was by myself. I couldn't even think of getting the phone.
no, that news.
Yeah, they should have
But
told you in person at least.
but it can happen.
know.
You know, and
Yeah.
people need to know that it doesn't come from a bad place.
Mhm.
It comes from an urgent
It
place.
comes
Yeah.
from the
That's
urgency
scary. That's so scary.
of transmit of yeah, they could have been handled better, but at the end of the day, it can happen, and you know, it happened to me. It can happen to anybody. So yeah, and no, I was telling you that one of the most important things that inspired me the most when I got the diagnosis, I went to see the doctor, and then I went to another center where I had to do more testing. And funny enough, the ultrasound tech had cancer. She found her own cancer. She diagnosed pretty much. She could
Her
see,
Delta.
yeah. And I was sitting there. I was not now. I was with my husband, and she goes like, "Come here." She takes me to another room, and she's like, "Look at this," and she shows me her breast, like her implants now. And she says, "You're terrified. You're so scared. I know, but you're not the only one. You're not the first one, and you won't be the last one. And what you have to know is that this is going to be a chapter of your life. Mentalize, like think of it as just a year, a time frame of a year of your life. That yes, it's unexpected. It sucks. It was not on your plans. You don't want these. Nobody wants these. But it can happen. 1 in 8 women get diagnosed with breast cancer, and you're one of them. So
1 in what?
1 in 8.
1 in 8.
And so from now on, every time that you feel down, remember these." And she kept showing me her breast. And you know what? And she was like, 1 year. She kept going like 1 year. Mind you, at this point, it was the beginning. So I was like,
1
you
year?
literally feel like there's a bomb that exploded nearby, and you're like. But you know what? Also throughout my treatment, I kept thinking like 1 year, 1 year, 1 year of my life. And again, at the moment, I didn't see it as, oh, she's preparing me. But then I understood that she was literally guiding me through a path of make a plan, make an action plan. It's going to be a year. How you going to tackle it, you know? And so
What
I
else
feel-
was in your plan? What else was in your plan? What you tell your other, like the girls that you support?
yes. Well, basically that.
Mhm.
As number one, you have to have a vision of where am I going? What's going to happen? Stop Googling things. Stop reading all day long about your pathology, because not all immune systems react the same to the drugs.
Everyone has a different
So you
reaction.
may not have the side effects and you're worrying
For
to
nothing.
death
Yeah.
for nothing. And so wait until the moment comes. Funny, it's easier said than done. You know,
Right.
like I was a victim of my own research.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. You're like, oh my God, 3 months to live. But yeah, so that's the first thing I tell them. Like, don't stop Googling, stop reading so much. It's good to be informed. Inform yourself about the pathology. That's you should do,
Yes.
right? If you have no idea of what breast cancer is and you have breast cancer, then educate yourself, you know, like talk to your nurses, go to support groups and understand what are the changes that you have to do to your lifestyle and what to expect. But then what I always tell the girls is that you have to have a vision of thinking, okay, this is going to have a beginning, which is now, and it's going to have an end. And the end is going to be positive. It's going to be that I get to live, that I'm going to beat this thing, and that I'm going to be all right.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, you lose track, because you lose track of yourself, because it's painful and it's scary.
Right.
So the most important thing is to surround yourself with people that are always telling you that you're going to be fine, that you got this. That is called a cancer fight for a reason, as I said before, because it gives you perspective and it gives you a goal.
Right.
And your goal is not only, yes, to beat cancer, but is to stay strong throughout your treatment. If you go down emotionally, mentally, your immune system goes down and everything goes to hell. So
did you have to change anything like in your diet?
That's another chapter. I also, because of the whole research that I did, self-diagnosing myself.
But that's good. That's good. That's good that
I started immediately making a lot of changes, consuming as much turmeric as I could. I didn't become yellow. Didn't become a walking banana. I don't know how, but yeah. You start reading these things, and I will make myself these crazy infusions. And
that's good.
Believe it or not, that was really bad, on the sense that I will go to the oncologist for my appointments, and she's like, "Whew, what are you sweating? Like, what are you eating?" I'm like, "Oh, all these healthy things. Like, I'm eating a bag of lemon a day." And she's like, wait. I'm like, "Oh, because the vitamin C and the antioxidants." And she's like, "Listen." And she told me this, and at that moment, and this is another advice that I give my pink sisters that start the treatment: let the medication. If you're gonna decide to follow a treatment with chemotherapy, let the chemo kill your cancer. Because if you start doing crazy, outrageous things to your diet and to your and your lifestyle,
it's like double.
Basically,
like
no, whatever
double
you're
M.
doing can contrast what the drug is supposed to do. For example, I was consuming literally, like, this happened for real. It's not. This is not a metaphor. I was drinking a bag of lemon per day because I felt like I can't get sick. I need vitamin C.
Oh my god!
I will
do like, yes. I will have it in tea in the morning. I will have lemonades in the afternoon. I will put it in different smoothies and stuff. And at the end of the day, so much lemon, so much vitamin C, it had a blocker for the chemo, for the chemotherapy. God. And so thank God it was at the beginning, but she said nothing to the extreme. Yeah, nothing. Everything in a balance. And right now, your job is to survive chemo. Your job is not to magically cure yourself, because you are here and you have decided to go the route of chemotherapy. Like, not everybody will do it. Some people want to try other stuff, but if you're here, listen to your doctors. Like, she was like, listen to me. You're here for a reason, and you have to follow instructions. It doesn't mean that if you don't agree with something, you won't speak up and you won't advocate for yourself. You have to feel comfortable with your medical team. You have to feel comfortable with what's ahead when you're presented with a treatment, which at the beginning you get presented with a treatment, and then you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And people get, second opinions and stuff. But once you get there, then let the medication. I have a new pink sister that I'm helping. And at the beginning, she was like, oh, I'm doing this and that. And I'm like, listen, your job right now is to survive chemo and to stay strong. And so your immune system can tolerate the chemo. And then the chemo will kill your cancer, consequently.
Yeah, so the chemo, it basically is killing the good cells
and the bad cells.
So then, like, your body's completely weak at that moment. All of your cells are gone. You have to replenish it. So that's why it's good. So, like,
obviously,
balance, like,
having a good diet, having a healthy diet, exercising, and obviously, don't do anything outrageous. I was so freaked out. I was like, I have to exercise more. I have to burn the fat, because fat can give me more cancer. So I would go running, and I had an accident where I was running with my sister's dog and my dog, and I flew in the air. Oh my God. And I almost,
the dog is her size.
The dog is my size. Yeah. They saw the UPS truck, and they took over, and I was like, couldn't keep up. When I went to see my doctor, she's like, oh my gosh.
Bruises everywhere.
What happened? What happened to your finger? And she's like, you can't be hospitalized right now. So whatever may put you in danger, you don't want to do it. Nothing extreme, no extreme diets, no extreme sports, no extreme routines. Stay doing whatever you were doing and let the medication work.
But you used to walk your dog.
Yeah,
right?
I used to. Yeah. And you know what? I ate pretty healthy even before cancer. Like it's not that I was very unhealthy, and people have the tendency of always thinking like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Why me? What did I do to get cancer?
You don't know. Where
and so
there's so many things in our environment
that
you don't know where you get it from.
Yeah. I mean, some cancers you actually do. Hormone positive, then you have your hormones are too high, and then you have an overproduction of cells, and that's where the cells go crazy, and you develop cancer. But in some pathologies like triple negative, it's still unknown. The main cause is still unknown.
Yeah, it could be from foods, it could be from radiation. It's like so many different ways.
Factors. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, it's balance is key. Yeah. Balance in everything: your diet, your routine, your stress levels, your everything. From your spiritual, like for me, from my spiritual life, my mental state of mind, my mental health, and my everything, the systems of support. Every little component adds up to the outcome that you're gonna have in the cancer fight. And not everybody has the knowledge, and not everybody has the systems of support, and that's something
very important.
Super important.
I remember, because your sister's obviously a friend of mine, I remember she would tell me, she's like, yeah, we would go in there with our list of all our questions.
Yes.
And and they left there and they knew every single thing that was happening.
Listen, super important that you said that. As I said before, when you get diagnosed, it's literally, the feeling is, it's just so surreal. Like, that you have cancer, but it doesn't really register until, like, even now, these days. Like, I was making flashcards of little points for me, important things for me to share with you. And I was bawling. I was like literally crying because it's so...
You're like reliving a little bit of it.
Yes. And the more distance that you have, I've been in remission for 3 years now. And the more distance, thank you. The more distance that you have to the more clear, you have more of a clear picture of, oh my gosh, what I just went through. But at the moment when you're fighting it, it's like the adrenaline of everything that's happening. You don't really see it as vivid as you do afterwards. Again, like, it's super important to take somebody with you. Now with COVID, it's super complicated because not the hospitals won't allow you. I did a whole year of immunotherapy. And I had to go alone for the first time to all my appointments. So for me, getting my port access, the accessing of the port, which is like a little machine that they put here to access your veins directly, that for me was so scary. Like, it's so dumb because I went through so much, but that little moment where they stick a needle in your chest, for me, I always had to hold a hand. And when COVID started, I couldn't, I was by myself. So I will tell the nurse, give me a minute. I will hold my own hands, literally. And remember the feeling of holding my husband's hand or my sister's hand or my friend's hand, my mom, my dad. And then she's like, what are you doing? And one day I said, I am holding my, sorry. I told her I'm holding my sister's hand right now. And she said, oh my God, you should have told me something. She called another nurse and she's like, hold her hand. And she's like, what's your sister's name? I said, Sharon. And she's like, you're holding Sharon's hand right now. And all I had to do was close my eyes and, it felt like it. But taking somebody with you to appointments is crucial. Or now with COVID, if you can, make a list of questions.
How do they know where to get these questions?
Take your time. Yeah, that's a very tricky
because that's
point.
Yeah. Well, when they have a sister like you, you'll give her the list. Here's
the
list.
No, like, I will walk to the appointments como un pollito mojado. I was like, oh my God, I have cancer. And she was like, okay, so what are we going to do? And what's next? And let me ask you another question. Like, we went to this hospital and for a second opinion, and the doctor was super lost.
The one that was really far.
Yes. And she got so pissed. I was like, oh my God, here we go.
You don't know anything.
I'm like, I'm the one with a cancer. I'm not even mad. Calm down. She was like, well, we already know that. I'm like, oh my God, sister, just chill. Yeah. But anyway, she was, you get very nervous because you want to.
You forget everything. You probably forget
No.
anything you want.
I'm telling you, I will walk inside the doctor's office and leave, and probably I would just remember 2 things of the whole hour and a half that we were there. It's like
cancer, breast.
No,
that's it. That's
no,
all.
like it was more of like, no, like your brain associates certain things that the doctor is explaining, and so you're like, oh, okay, but you're so nervous and you're so convoluted. It's almost like, I don't know. It doesn't compare to anything else that you go through. It's just like you're so scared. Like they're talking and talking, and you're like, okay, trying to memorize. And I remember leaving and being like, what did she just say? And she's like, don't worry, I got the notes. She bought me a little folder where she dated all the notes of every appointment.
That's important.
Get them. And so then we will go like, oh no, this was said on this appointment. So we will go back to that day, and we're like, oh yeah, she was right. I'm going through these right now. Or, oh, these are new questions that I have for another doctor. So, but your question, where do you get these questions if you don't have anybody to go with you, or if you can't because of COVID? Yeah, I don't have the.
Get yourself a pink sister.
Get yourself a pink sister.
Yes.
Get yourself a pink sister, or if you got diagnosed in a center where their main job is to help cancer patients, find yourself. There's this program called Cancer Navigation in many hospitals, and like, for example, for me, I went to chemo school.
Okay.
Literally, like there's a date that you go, they give you a book, you walk in, you sit down, and you're in chemo school. And
wow,
it doesn't. I don't know if it's called chemo school, but it's a
that's
chemo class.
That's what they
And so they go like, okay, I know you're really scared. You know that you may have questions, or maybe you don't have any questions. So here's this booklet, and you can read it in your own time. And these are most common questions or frequently asked questions by other patients.
Okay.
And then that's a little start, like you're like, oh yeah, I should be wondering this or that.
Right.
Yeah. And
did you compile your own list of chemo questions for your sisters?
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
like the main, like what
Absolutely.
you feel is important to ask.
Absolutely. Yes. At this moment. Yeah. I mean, she was very detail oriented. So she will, for her, what she did for me, and I could never repay her. And this is why I do free babysitting for life. Housekeeping and
everything else.
No, I love you, sis. No, what was most important is that she will ask very specific questions about the medications, what to expect in terms of time frames. She will ask very specific questions about the progress of the actual cancer, and I was more of a, I don't know, she was asking more specific questions about the treatment, the medical part of the treatment, and I was asking more of like what to expect and how to deal with these things. And I feel that, again, every cancer is different. Every patient reacts differently. So if you have somebody to guide you and to help you, and you know what, I just got a flashback. I remember the nurse telling me, no question there's not such a thing as a dumb question, or like or como something minor. No.
Minor
If you have a question, write it down. Whenever you have a question, write it down. And then whenever you see your doctor, take your time with your doctor and ask all these questions. Or you can even ask the doctor if it's okay for you to record the session. And some will tell you yes. And then you record the session. And then when you get home, you can review the note. You can make notes. You can review your session if you're alone,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because COVID has really
Oh,
taken
no.
a toll on all those.
Absolutely. It has changed the dynamics of how people can tackle cancer.
Right.
In many
that's
ways.
mainly your support when someone's
In
there
many
with
ways.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
And if there was something that you could have done differently through your entire treatment that you think back now, what do you think that would be?
You know what? Funny, when I was preparing for, which is kind of like creating a timeline of my journey, I actually I couldn't answer this question. I was like, what would I have done differently? I literally couldn't answer this question for a while. And I started texting. I text my pink sister until like 1 a.m. I don't know when she sleeps.
She took this?
We talk all night. Like, sister, when do you even sleep? And I'm like, I sent her the questions and I'm like, how do you feel about the number 8? How do you feel about this question? How will you, what was the most important thing that I told you that impacted you the most, or that now you feel that you would have done differently? And she said, what it helped me the most of everything was when you said, tackle these as a to-do list, create a plan. And if I didn't have that, I would have probably lost track of myself pretty much. And we were back and forth of this question, and then I don't know how the conversation started leading towards the thing that we said, how people are so scared of getting bad news that they take forever to go get a mammogram, or they take forever to go get diagnosed because they're so scared, right, even when something is physically wrong. Right. Like I just came across these
I tell my friend, I go, can I just go get a CAT scan in my entire body and find whatever's wrong with me right now, so that I can figure out how to fix it? She's like, Monsieur, you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
Just let it be.
No, I'm saying, like, there's people that see that something is not right, see that something is physically, visually abnormal, or not. There's something wrong, but they're so afraid. You will be surprised of how many people go get diagnosed and they probably had the cancer for 5-6 years just because they're so afraid of the bad news. And sadly, if you have cancer, and if it's in your destiny to have cancer, and if it has to be part of your story and of your journey, the sooner you know, the better. Mm-hmm. And nothing will change the outcome. You're still going to have cancer today, tomorrow, in a month. And if you don't treat it, you may not have a chance. So we were texting. She's like, oh, wait a minute. That's our answer. To tell people, like, it's not what I would have done differently, because I always did it since I'm a kid. Like, since I was a teenager, I was always doing self-examinations. But what I want to say to others is that this is something you cannot go back in time. You cannot
change it. You can't
change it if it's not something that you don't practice. It takes 5 minutes. Self-examinations can save your life. And so this is something that the most important thing for me to tell others is that that's my answer, like, to that question. Mm-hmm. What, it's not that I could have done differently, because it was something that I was already doing. And guess what? This is what saved my life. When I was in my treatment, and this is the craziness and the outrageousness of triple negative, of my pathology, is very fast growing. It's a very fast growing cancer. And it can metastasize really fast, meaning that it can spread and move to other parts of your body. And while the main cancer disappear, my main, that's the wrong term. You say lesions. Yeah. So while the main lesion disappear, I grew.
Which was the main one that you felt?
The croqueta. The croquette.
Okay.
That one disappeared with chemo. However, I went to see a reconstruction surgeon, because while you're doing chemo, you have to still be functional enough to go see these other doctors and plan ahead. Mm-hmm. The radiologist, the guy, the doctor that's gonna do your reconstruction, and everybody else, and your oncologist. No, your surgical oncologist.
Okay.
And so you have to be able to go see these other doctors while you're already in chemo. And he was looking at my breast, and we were planning the surgery ahead, and what are we gonna do, and if I'm gonna get to keep my nipples or not. And like, in a way, it's, you always feel like, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Like, if it's gonna give me cancer in the future, I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah. But there's so much new technology that can lead towards really knowing if there's cancer particles in that area, in the nipple, that they will look. I mean, it's a very complicated process, but they look and they say, okay, it's safe enough or it's not, and then you get to keep them not. And also it depends on the culture of the doctor, on the, you know, like on the belief of the doctor, to say it in a way. A lot of doctors say like, no, there's no way, and there's like the old medicine and the new medicine, you know, like the all concepts and new concepts, and you have to do whatever you feel comfortable with. But what I was going to tell you is that we were planning my surgery, and he was like, you may get to keep the nipples, I don't know, and he's checking the breast to see the dimensions and whatever. He was like, wait a minute, you have something here, have you noticed? He goes to the computer, he opens my chart, and he says, wait, you have a lump on the side. I'm like, there's no way, I have no lump on my side. My cancer my lesion has reduced, it has disappeared. He's like, Deb, grabs my hand, and I had a new lump, the size of a blueberry. Sorry, I have to do it. Literally, it was the size of a blueberry, and it was brand new. It grew. I literally developed a brand new lesion in 2 weeks while receiving chemotherapy, and while my main tumor responded to the chemotherapy. And so, listen, this is a roller coaster. Anything can happen. It's not very common. By the way, my oncologist literally said, like, this is the first time this ever happened to me in my 40 years of being an oncologist. Like, I've never seen this before. And so it sucks. I was freaking out. It's really bad.
It's like freak out all over again.
Yes.
But now you had to start from scratch?
No, I had to change plans. I had more. I was supposed to have 16 rounds of chemotherapy, and this was found on my 12th round. So they suspended. We had to, literally, this was on a Monday, and they said, no, the breast needs to come out now. Like, and so I had surgery like 3 days later. Literally, like, my doctors went above and beyond to accommodate me in their crazy schedules, and I had surgery right away and removed.
That was one of the things both my breasts. Experienced while I was doing ultrasound. Remember I told you that I studied ultrasound? Yes. I was in the hospital for 3 months in the ER, and mainly the ultrasounds I would do was in the uterus. And right away, as soon as they found something, it was like, okay, remove the uterus. And I would get so attached to my patients that I would go home crying every day.
Yeah,
so
it's a heavy load.
It's hard because it's like one of the things that they teach you is not to get so attached.
Right,
and
I know.
I didn't know how to disconnect myself.
Yes.
So I cried every time, and then I started to do my own research. Like, what are other alternatives? What are ways that instead of right away like taking it out, what are ways? And it was basically like changing diets. I mean, the breast is totally different than the uterus.
Yes,
you know?
yes, it's a completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
So
every cancer is different. People think of cancer as one cancer. No, como programas de like your guide on your cable. Like, you know, it's like it's not one package. It's not one cancer. It's a package. Like every single pathology and every single cancer comes completely different.
So I started to do the research, and it was like, you know, cleanses and detoxes and a lot of teas, and that made me feel better. Like I gave me hope for women. Like, it's not right away, because, you know, that's where you have your baby from.
Yeah.
So I was always like, you know, there has to be other ways to cleanse it and help out, you know, women.
With breast cancer, there's basically 2 ways to treat it, and it depends on your stage 1, 2, 3, 4. And it also depends on the size of your lesion. If your lesion is above 5 centimeters, which, you know, it's big, they can't just remove the breast, because then it will lead to spreading. Yeah. And also,
is that why they revert to shrinking?
So there were 2 ways of attacking breast cancer is by saying, okay, we're going to remove the breast right away, and then we'll treat it with chemotherapy later, just in case there's some cancer wandering around your body, lost on the expressway of your lymph nodes, finding where to start a new home. Or the other way is, no, let's do chemotherapy first, because A, we need to shrink it so it doesn't spread, number 1. And B, which it was my case, because of triple negative, and again, we come back to, they don't know where it comes from, they had to see what will my body respond to, which chemicals, like which medication will help me in case it did mutate it to another part of my body. And then they had to know the compounds of medication that the cancer reacted or responded to.
Which is what you call the cocktail.
Yes, basically.
And what cocktail did your body respond to?
Ooh. I was martinis, margaritas. No, I'm kidding. I wish. No, I had.
Well, you talked about you haven't talked about it, but the really powerful one.
Yeah, the Red Devil, hydromycin, and basically they give you a different cocktail. Again, every case is different. Right. For me, I started with a course of treatment for 4 weeks, which they started with the most aggressive, the Red Devil. It's called the Red Devil, but in the street, it's called the hydromycin. I did Red Devil and carboplatin or cytoxin. Well, I took so many medications that at this point they're all getting convoluted. But I know that I did the Red Devil first, and that's the strongest. And then every medication has a different side effect.
And so, even with the Red Devil, that new lesion came out.
So basically, my main tumor disappeared after 4 rounds of the Red Devil and the other one that I was taking, which I can't remember if it was carboplatin or cytoxin. But I do remember that it disappeared. And when I was switched to the other medication, which it was Taxol and carboplatin, that's when I developed new cancer. So we don't know. We never, and we'll probably never know if this is that it was already, I had a cell that it was already there and it was so small that it was undetectable, or I really am a super overachiever and I'm a,
creator,
a machine of of lumps. Yeah.
Oh no.
No. But we'll never know. Like that's so. And with different treatments and with different pathologies, we want answers for everything, and not everything has an answer. And so having to be okay with that, it's hard, but it's possible. And the fastest that people understand that is like, oh, why this person had to get COVID, or why did I have to get cancer, or why this pathology is so hard, or not everything has an answer, but everything. And I'm a stronger believer that everything. How everybody says everything happens for a reason. I do believe that everything happens for a reason. As I was telling you outside, I'm a life coach for adults with special needs. And throughout my whole career, I always felt like that I could really relate to them because I have had a brother with a spina bifida. So for me, when I was serving my clients, I remember thinking like, I can understand them more than anybody because I'm so close to my brother that I had the full clear vision of how to serve and what it felt like to be disabled. But through my cancer journey, I learned that I knew nothing about it. I learned that you have to really not be able to do the things that you were able to do before, or feel different. Be bold, lose your breath. All those changes make you feel different. And then is when I understood, like, holy moly, I knew nothing about it. And so it gave me a whole new perspective of.
It gave me chills.
No, seriously. It was like a reminder for me. And it's all about how you decide to see things through life. Like for me, I remember I told my dad, he's like, why are you so okay? Like, are you pretending? Are you just faking to be okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, because throughout the whole treatment, and even when I was getting the worst news, I remember thinking like, it's okay. This is just an opportunity to create a new version of myself. As I started feeling more and more debilitated or different and disabled, I literally got to the point where I felt like, where I missed my own self because I couldn't do many things. And this happens to a lot of cancer patients. My new pink sister, she says, I'm so frustrated. I'm so mad because all I want is to feel like myself again, and I can't. And she will probably never feel like herself again, and that's okay because there's a new you waiting, a stronger, better version if you want to see it that way. And so,
how do you keep it together for them?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because let me tell you, I can't keep it together here.
Yeah, it's a really good question because it hits really close to.
I need another water bottle, and I need a bathroom break.
Yeah, how do I keep it together? You know what? It takes time, and it takes practice, as everything else. Like with my first pink sister, I was like, "You need to be strong. Give me a minute." It was so hard. Like, I will go with her to appointments. Like it was like PTSD to the T. You know, like I was. It was so. I never show this part to her because you have to be strong. Like they need somebody to lean on. They need somebody to guide them. You can be like una Magdalena crying in every corner because then they will crumble. Like, but it takes time and it takes a lot of. It takes practice. It takes time, and it takes a clear understanding of. For example, for me now, I feel like this whole journey has given me so much insights on how to help others. And if you
I
use
can't wait. I want you to create a foundation. You should have had a foundation.
No, but my husband says like, oh my God, you want an organization for every single cause in the world. Stop it. Pick one. I'm like, I can't. Veterans, cancer patients, single moms. Let's do it. Win the lotto. But no, for real. But I feel like I started taking notes and of things that I found that I see with more clarity now. And I do have like journals that I'm taking notes, and it's like every new pink sister that I have, the same pattern of questions do repeat on itself. So on the story
based
per se.
Based on your notes, based on what you
Yes. I see that there's a certain pattern that you're like, oh, she's not there yet, but she will get there in 2 weeks, and then boom, it comes, you know. And so the fact that now I feel like I'm ready for it, and the fact that I see that I'm physically being able to help people in such a tangible way. This new pink sister that I have, she tells me, how could I ever repay you? Like, why you do this? Like, how could I ever repay you? And I say, by becoming a pink sister and helping the next one that is coming after, because we need more. We need to have more systems of support because, again, 1 in 8, it's a lot. It's a big number. And so we need to create more pink sisters, take notes, learn from the journey. The other day we were having a conversation about, she says, did you ever get mad? You're so positive all the time. Like, I said, you know what? What a funny question. No, the answer is no. I never got upset. She's like, how?
Your sister was more upset.
Yeah. She's like, how come? And I'm like, because from the beginning, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I have cancer. Like I kept saying like, oh my gosh, thank God it got caught on time. Oh my gosh, thank God this medication is working. Like people are like, oh, chemo sucks. Sorry, fuck chemo. In my head, I was like, bless you, chemo. Thank you for healing me. Thank you so much. Thank you, God, that you let me be here in the United States where I'm getting the best treatment. And I tackle every single step of my treatment with that mentality. So now when I see that my friend it's having a rough day, I do let her. We all grieve differently, and we all the process is different for every person. But I always try to bring her back home, and home is hope. Home is a positive mind. Home is a place where you will try to find a new perspective, a positive perspective. Because if not, it's very hard to deal with it. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
And words of encouragement. Words of encouragement.
Have
you ever done this before?
No.
Like, okay, I mean, I
do it on a daily basis all over the phone with people, but not as a formal interview. No.
Okay.
Words of encouragement for me is to tell people that what my nurse, the New Orleans. Oh my God. Funny. One day I'm going to bring her beats so she can flash me her implants again. But no, words of encouragement. Yes, I will forever remember these words that she said. You're not the first one. You're not the last one. And if others were able to...
Wait. There's a commercial.
Wow, you're getting commercials already?
Because it's the 1 hour mark.
Did you start eating like more organically after?
Okay, I already had a diet.
You already had it.
Like I was like I eat salads for breakfast, for Christ's sakes. Like I'm not 100%. I won't classify myself as vegan or vegetarian just because I'm Argentinian and that's in my DNA. I have to have milanesas once in a while and empanadas.
Organic doesn't necessarily
no. I'm just kidding.
Like
no, I'm just kidding.
How the cow is grown.
Yeah.
Like how where's the meat coming from?
Yes.
Is it like grown organic?
Right.
Do they have a lot of hormones injections?
Right.
Do they have a lot of preservatives? Like all those things, you know.
I didn't radically change my. Are we recording these or you're just asking me for?
No, recording.
I didn't radically change my diet. Again, I had. The first thing when I met my doctor, she said, okay, tell me everything, like, tell me a little bit about your lifestyle. And, I told her everything. And she said, well, I don't see the need for you to do radical changes. You could if you want to, but basically, whenever you ask, and this is the main question that I kept asking all the oncologists, like, why should I be eating? Can I have a glass of wine if I feel like it? Can I toast with champagne? Or can I have a cupcake? Or can I, like, by the way, I hate cupcakes, but it's just a metaphor. Like, can I have sugar once in a while? Can I have, can I have a steak? Can I, because you read, and the more you read, the more you educate yourself. And there's so many different theories and schools for treating cancer. There's a doctor in Miami Cancer Institute right now. I'm not gonna say her name, but she's awesome. But when she greets her clients, her patients, she says, "Hey, this is my name, and I have to tell you up front that if yesterday, whatever you had, is the last day that you're ever gonna taste sugar in your whole life, and if you're not okay with that, you need to walk out of my office right now." No, it's funny. It's a funny approach. Oh, and she will go like, "You have to walk out of my office right now because I won't take you." Oh my. Because this is my belief as a doctor. And many people love that. And they're like, yes, let's follow you, And other people are like, ew, they freak out. There's always there's a different approach through the
how is that funny?
No, I mean, I find it hilarious.
Like no cupcakes.
I mean, for example, I don't know, like
use stevia. Can they use stevia?
But you know what? It's funny. Like whenever you get diagnosed, you want answers so desperately. Bad. Like, it doesn't matter if they're crazy, radical, ridiculous, or awesome. You're so desperate that you want guidance, is the word. You want guidance. You want people to tell you what to do. You feel like, tell me what to do and I'll follow you to the end of the world. Like, yeah. And for me, and that was in my experience, I kept asking, and I went to see a lot of doctors. I went to Texas, to Miami, MD Anderson. I met with a guru. I was blessed enough to meet with a guru of triple negative. She's like, if there's someone a doctor that knows a lot of triple negative, is this doctor. And I asked all these questions because here, to the doctors that I have seen before, nobody could really tell me much about it. And basically, she kept saying everything in moderation. Your job is to survive cancer. So if eating, I don't know, a Snickers bar will make you happy, then have a mini size Snickers bar. The job here is to survive through your journey. And then when you asked me before, what will be the advice that you will give patients? The main advice that I give my patients right now, and it connects to this part that I'm saying, is that when you get diagnosed, you become so crazy because you're like, oh my gosh, the main question, am I gonna die? Right? We haven't gotten there yet, but obviously cancer, that's the first thing people think of. And
not only the hair falling.
No,
it's am I gonna survive?
I mean, some people care about dying more than the hair falling. Or losing the breast. That's a big. Yeah. Oh yes. No. Oh my gosh. We'll talk about it later. Maybe at 3 a.m. No, but I told you this was gonna be bad. I warned you about my
chatty. No wonder it took me a month to get you over here.
But
write all these questions down.
No, but the main thing that I tell all my pink sisters is that whenever, this is what I've learned through the journey, is that your job right now is to be present and to show up. There's other people that have done the same thing that you're going to do right now. And your job is just to be consistent with your treatment, consistent with how you're going to keep your spirits, your mental health, your system of support, create plans. If you don't have people are always willing to help, like, accept the help, find a way to create a plan and just be consistent. And how this is how I remember these with the small Snickers bar is because she told me these words. She said, your job right now is to be present, to still be here. If we don't have you, then there's no cancer to fight. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people lose the battle to cancer because they're so concerned, they go so crazy that they just collapse. Mm-hmm. So you need to do whatever makes you happy and stable enough to stay here and to survive. Yeah. there's a lot of stages of grieving and of losing. You're always losing something, you know, from the beginning. You're losing like faith and like, oh, I'm okay, and then suddenly you don't know if you're gonna be okay. That's the first loss. The losing of the losing of your peace of mind. Then comes your schedule, because believe it or not, cancer is a full-time job. Like, you have to go to all these appointments and your life goes upside down. A lot of people get fired from their jobs. Oh no, it's crazy.
People get fired from their jobs.
They can get fired. They don't fire you. Oh, you have cancer, but they're like, oh,
You
no,
missed too many
take
days.
time,
You
blah blah
missed too
blah,
many
and then,
days.
oh, I'm sorry. So and it goes down the list. But by far, the fear of losing your life obviously is the most important, and the losing the hair, and then it comes to the part of the losing of the breast. If you have to remove your breast for the sake of your treatment, and in most cases you do have to remove your breast. It's a whole process. For me, I never stopped to think about, oh, what's gonna happen when I lose my breast? How am I gonna look? What's gonna happen to me? Until, I would say, the week before the surgery, it became real. And I remember every time I will go to the bathroom, I will look at my breast and be like, oh my gosh, like I will forget how my body looked before. Like, I will completely forget, because, and it kind of, people are afraid to talk about it because they feel that it's a superficial thing, right? Because you're going through cancer. Why you care about losing your breast if you could save your life? No, everything, all these feelings are so valid. And like the change of how you look, the change of your sexual life, like how these will affect you in the future. My husband and I went to have dinner. It was a saying a goodbye boobies dinner.
Oh, that's cute.
Yes, we made, like, it was actually a date night to say goodbye to the boobies.
Okay.
Yeah, like, hilarious. And and we were at the restaurant, and they said, are you celebrating a special occasion? I said, yes. And say, what? I'm like, well, it's so complicated, but we're not celebrating. We're celebrating, and we're celebrating the goodbye of cancer, like getting rid of cancer, and we're also transitioning into a new era. And minutes before the surgery, I remember grabbing them and saying, like, oh my gosh. And I never thought it was important to me, because, again, you're in fighting mode the whole time, survival mode, and you don't allow yourself to think of these things. But when it's the moment of truth, you feel like, oh my gosh, my body's gonna change forever. And for many of cancer survivors, I will say 90% or even more of cancer survivors, you go through a stage that you hate your body. You look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to refine a way. It's like you have to find a new way to see yourself, and a new way to appreciate who you are now. There's still, and this is what I tell my new pink sister, there's still so much beauty in you. But the way you're going to find it is not maybe superficial right now. It's within you. It's in your mind. It's in the power that you have as a person. So not everything, I know, like, you feel like you're horrible now, and I feel the same way. But it will come to, and I always tell her, like, you will get there. When you do the reconstruction, just think of it as, okay, now I'm in don't have boobs chapter, and then you're gonna move to the next chapter, and you're gonna have a reconstruction, and maybe you can do tattoos, maybe you can do something. There's so many things right now that will help you
feel good,
cope, and find a new way to feel better. And I remember through the whole, when I started going through that journey of feeling horrible, I literally felt like let me see. I never thought of using food terms. A soggy French fry or something. No. Like a meatball that was missing a chunk of meat. No, I remember thinking, like, what can I do to make myself feel better? So I started focusing on, I always wanted, let's say, I don't know, like, let's say, I always wanted to have more toned arms, or I always wanted
a six-pack,
or a smaller waist, or what can you control now with what you have? And if you're intentional about it, again, it requires a lot of willpower, because you know, it hurts. It hurts to lose a part of your body, and it hurts to not feel, if it seems unfair, like, why did I have to lose my breast? But if you can channel that towards saying like, oh, maybe this is the time that I will use to get a booty or a smaller waist or a better skin, or just try to challenge yourself to a new, to discover something new, so you can like yourself in a way, you know. And keep in mind that if you're having a reconstruction, because a lot of people decide to go flat, and that's also okay, whatever makes you happy and whatever you feel that you're going to be more comfortable with in the future. But if you're 3 months from reconstruction or a year from reconstruction and you feel like crap right now, give yourself a little pep talk. And my friend tells me all the time, like, oh my gosh, the fact that you give me so many pep talks, this helps me, because then I repeat these things to myself when you're not around. Right. And it helps me so much. It's funny. But what I kept telling myself is just like 3 more months, 5 more months.
Why do reconstructions vary in time frame?
Because of what happens after they remove your breast. For example, in my case, and I will show you pictures later, I had to have radiation, and the radiation burnt my skin like a 3rd-degree burn. My whole axilla was like destroyed, and it burned me so much that the skin shrunk to a level that, and then that adds another new challenge for the doctor that is doing your reconstruction, right. Because now you're missing skin. He can't pull because radiation shrinks your skin. It literally shrinks the skin. And so now you have a new challenge, that you have a nipple here and a nipple here. And so if you're a mom, if you're wanting to be a mom and you're thinking like, oh, I'm never going to get to breastfeed my babies, or from a sexuality point of view, or from the way, again, keeping symmetry and liking yourself. But it's not always a good thing or bad thing necessarily to keep the nipples, because there's a lot of complications that come with it. And so, yeah. So Manu, I got radiation on this whole side because my cancer was on the left side, but nothing on this side. So my skin on this side is healthy. And because I had to have expanders, which are little, super long. It's like an implant, but with a metal base. That was so heavy that it stretched this part of this skin that it was healthy, overstretched, and this one that it shrunk. Now it's tiny, and this one is all stretched. And so
I admire you so much, because you have this energy, this positivity. Like, no wonder everyone wants to be your sister.
No.
Oh my God, your big sister.
Yeah. If you get to keep your sense of humor, your peace. And to me, it comes with my religion and believing in God and my beliefs, right? Mm-hmm. If you get to keep your spirits and your sense of humor and the system that comes with all the things that we said before, and your structure, then it's very possible to go through these and still be okay, still be yourself. Yeah.
God, Debbie.
Yeah.
You're amazing, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you came.
I remember I don't remember exactly the way I channeled those words, but I do remember that the feeling was that me siento un inútil, like I feel like I have gotten to the point that I have to depend on somebody. And feeling that is like, if you don't go through it, you could never understand it. Yeah. And that's how I feel like that rechanneled and refreshed my purpose of serving individuals that feel like this every day of their lives, and they don't get better, because it's not like a disability that goes away.
Has the support like you have,
and yes, correct.
Like your husband has been amazing.
No, amazing. And so, yeah. He kept telling me that the whole time when I got diagnosed, he's like, "You're gonna be fine. I know it in my heart." He never panicked. He never. Only like once that we were driving, and I was like, "Thank you." Like, it's funny. Like, I would look at the window and be like, "Oh, thank you, God, for this day. Thank you for another day of life." I will pray constantly in my head. And when I look around, he's crying. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yes, I just need to cry." I never cry, but I need to cry today. I'm like, "Okay, go ahead." And that's the only time he cried. And
2 times.
No, in the bathroom. Oh. No, that was the first one, and then yeah. But no, I mean after the diagnosis, you know, like you're like in such shock. But he was like,
you can't even react.
You can't even react. But he was like, no, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. And I'm like, are you repeating como un loro que I'm gonna be fine, or you really believe it? And he's like, no, I really believe it. We will have these funny conversations of like, are you pretending? No, I'm not pretending. I really believe it. And I don't want.
You have enough memory, and now, and it's a lot of things are clear now too.
Yes,
like you said.
Yeah,
that you're looking through kind of like a looking glass into the past 3 years of everything that you've gone through.
I was blessed, super blessed with amazing coworkers and family and friends. Honestly, I know that not everybody has this system of support, but I was lucky enough to have it. And in every single chemo, I will either get shipments of gifts before going to chemo or after. And somebody sent me a book that's called Letters to My Sister. And the book is literally letters. Sorry, no, don't go for the water. I'm recovering. The book, wait. The book is literally letters. It's a
like text, like the text messages you were writing.
Yes, it's pretty much physical letters from all cancer survivors, breast cancer specifically, of many states and different places. So they're letters for new Pink Sisters. And I remember at the beginning, I'm like, I'm never gonna relate to these because every cancer is different. And the moment I started reading, I said, oh my gosh, yes, I'm feeling these, and I'm feeling these, and I'm feeling these. Oh wow. And it gave me such peace of mind. It's almost like between having my Pink Sister and the book, and obviously I have really good relationship with the nurses, and como dice mi marido, I make friends everywhere. Like to this day, I go to the hospital and they're like, oh. Guys, there's in the Miami Cancer Institute on Tuesdays, they have live music at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And when I was going through my treatment, there was a lady playing the harp. No, sorry, no, que harp es esta? The harp. And yo lo sé que estaba tocando un very tall harp. No. But she was playing the harp, and I started saying hi to her, whatever. And then on a Tuesday, I walk in and I was late for my appointment. And I said, I pretend, I kind of like went like this so she wouldn't see me. So I had to go straight to the elevator. But the moment, I don't know, I don't think she ever saw me. But the moment I was going to the elevator, she started playing Moon Rivers. I love the song. Moon River, wider than a mile. I don't know if you ever heard it.
No, but we'll play it in our podcast.
She was playing that, and I stopped and I turned around and I started looking at her, and she goes like, come here. And she goes like, I'm playing this for you. She said that for no reason. Like she didn't know me.
Oh my God.
I was, I was like,
oh my God.
How? Like, why? And she's like, no, she was like, no, I don't know. I felt like playing this song when I saw you. I know that you're late to your appointment, but I want you to know that I did see you and that I'm playing this for you. Oh, and so I was like, you know what? I'm going to be late to my appointment, and I'm going to stay here and I'm going to sing with her along the whole time to the end. And there's so many things, like little things like that. All these little things go such a long way. So these should be not only for cancer patients, for Pink Sisters, but also to the systems of support and to the community. You know what? I discover a whole side of the community. Miami, people are like, are you from Miami? People in Miami are so rude. They're so crazy. I discover a whole side of the community that I have never even imagined that existed. Such as me, I had a really bad rash on my scalp, so I couldn't wear a wig. I couldn't wear wraps, hats, nothing. I had to go bald because I was like literally have blisters all over from my neck, from my head all going down to my neck. And so I was saying, you know what? There's nothing I can do. Like, what can I do? And I will go bald everywhere. And I will go to the supermarket. And the moment I will grab a shopping cart, people will start like, oh my God, those eyes. You should consider going bald forever because you look gorgeous. There you go, champion. You got it. Yeah. Keep on fighting. Like, people will tell you these things for no reason. Like, you're like, oh, where are the potatoes? Excuse me, can I tell you something? You're freaking gorgeous. And you're a warrior. And you're going to beat this thing. And you're going to be... They don't know if I had alopecia or cancer or whatever. Yeah. But the fact that they will go out of your way to make you feel good, like accepted and good and loved and supported. This community does exist. And so for friends and for family members and for neighbors, and for co-workers, any little thing that you do goes such a long way. Cancer patients need all the support, all the help, all the love that you're willing to give them. And um and nothing, like, it's like every single every little thing that you do, it changes, it gives hope to the person, and it literally helps the person fight. It helps the patient regain strength. It recharges your batteries, and you feel like, wow, like, yes, I got this. I can do it. I can do it. Yeah, like I mentioned, I work with special needs. I remember one day, Emmanuel, this was prior to COVID, I was in chemo connected, and my boss at the time showed up with one of my students, who's a girl with Down syndrome. And when she saw me, I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna panic. I'm full of cables and I have a needle.
Oh my goodness.
When she saw me, this little chubby, beautiful little girl sat next to me, and she goes like, give me your hand. I gave her my hand, and she goes like, you're gonna be fine. Like, I'm like, did you prepare her for this? She's like, you got these. You're fine. I got you. She's like, she's like, I got you a gift. I'm like, a gift for me? She's like, I went to a gift shop. I'm like, okay. She gives me a bag, and it's a sweater that says, I can and I will. Guys, oh my gosh, that sweater was my flag. I will wear it whatever I like. When I started flying to other hospitals, even when I started, that was before I grew the new cancer, the new legion. I would wear my sweater, and from the people that clean the bathrooms at the hospital to strangers, I would wear my sweater, and they were like, yes, you can and you will. It's already done. You got it. Like, it's so funny. Little things feel like they carry a message that you take to the core. Like, you hold on to them. Like Rose and DiCaprio, no. In the movie.
She let go. No,
don't let go.
She let go.
Well, no.
Don't use that one.
No. You're right. Let me look for another metaphor. No, but like these little things. And so my words to the community and to people that are going through these is that don't feel like something small, like making somebody a soup. Like somebody make me a carpaccio. Like, no, what was it? A salmorejo, which is a Spanish soup. And I was like, I don't even know if I can eat these. And I started eating. I'm like, oh my God. And it was like awesome. And I felt so good. And like, and the fact that you feel that people are with you and supporting you, and it just helps a lot. It helps so much, tremendously. Yeah. So there's not such thing as a small gift or as a small gesture. There's not such thing. A text message, a hey, I'm thinking of you, I'm praying for you. I remember at the beginning, people used to tell me, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, you don't have to say anything. Like, just hug me.
Right.
Yeah. Just pray for me. Just pray. And they will ask me, what do you want me to pray for? I'm like, maybe healing. No, I'm kidding. No, but I remember, believe it or not, at the beginning, I used to say healing.
Oh, yeah.
And then midway, in the middle of the treatment, I said, you know what? Pray for strength. Pray for peace. Pray for me to keep my peace of mind, so I can complete these 5. So it just changes gradually. Like every stage of the journey changes a lot.